So as Pastor David said, last year in October, we spent the month and 5 weeks in Uganda. And this is going to be a little bit about our trip, because we cannot sum up everything that happened and all that we saw and all that we did and all that impacted us. So Africa, I wrote it and I cried. I said it and I cried. Is this close enough? Africa. I wrote it and I cried. I said it and I cried. I stepped foot onto that big, beautiful continent and I cried. But today I will not cry. Today I will share with you the beautiful moments of our mission trip to Masaka, Uganda. Okay, I might cry, but they will be tears of joy in knowing the journey of these people and this beautiful country. It's taken me a long time to even think about how to share this journey. Not for lack of trying or for lack of desire, but just because it was such a huge culminating moment in my life. And that trying to explain it, it just wasn't working. But today, I'm going to give it my best shot. Let me take you on a little journey. Africa has always been in my heart, and I believe that God placed it there for a very special reason. And I'm not sure what that reason is, but I know it's there for a purpose. I shared back in March of 2015, so basically a year ago, I shared that this journey started out of a place of pain and a place of hurt. And while dealing with crazy fertility issues, I really felt that God was leading me on an outward journey. Outside of myself, no longer looking inward to pain and hurt and frustration and anger, but nudging me to look outwards. And I had this moment where I realized that there are so many children, so many kids that needed love. And what if we gave the love that we had, our finances and ourselves, to the people and the children who need it? So I stopped looking inward and I began to look outward. So a little over 18 months ago, I felt that it was time. It was time to start living on purpose. No longer reacting to what life threw at me, but instead taking and making serious plans to make every decision I make count. And every decision I make matter. That's how we ended up in the stunningly beautiful, as you can see, Masaka. The hills of Masaka, Uganda, where there are dirt roads and there are potholes the size of sedans. You can get lost in those potholes. We did a couple of times. There are children everywhere. The sun sets and rises at 7 to the roosters crowing. It's a land stained red by the blood of generations of war, poverty, and death. Yet the people are resilient. They're vibrant and they are hopeful. Uganda is in East Africa, and it's known as the Pearl of Africa, and I know why. Because it is beautiful, fertile, and full of life. So let me tell you about one of those lives, my little pearl. I want to tell you about a little girl that I met named Namuli. Namuli is 11, and she was abandoned at the hospital for 7 days and nights. Now, when you think about a hospital in Uganda, you have a Canadian vision of what a hospital looks like. Hospital in Uganda is a little bit different. In Uganda, you need a caregiver to go with you, and that caregiver is your lifeline. They feed you, they clean you, they take care of you. The nurses do not. But Namuli was in the hospital for 7 days with no caregiver. She had been dropped off and left. We had been spending the day with Faye, who runs Nurture Baby Home, and we were talking about her world and what it was like to live life on purpose. we were actually, that was the day right there. We were sitting in a cafe, and she got a phone call that we needed to get to the hospital because there was an emergency pickup. We gathered our stuff. She said, hey, do you guys want to go with me? And we were like, yeah. And once I got there, I was like, oh man, we shouldn't have come. So we got to the hospital, and the hospital, the sound, the smell, the people, there were 27 beds in one room, and I know this because I counted. Now multiply each of those beds by a caregiver, bringing their own food, their own water, their own bedding, pots and pans, jerry cans full of water. It was an assault on the senses, the smell, the sights. It was amazing. We got to Namuli's bed, and she was curled up in the fetal position, naked, not moving, and not making any sounds, trying to stay as still as possible with her eyes wide. She looked panicked. We didn't know if she could talk, and we didn't know what state she was in. We knew absolutely nothing other than the fact she had been left alone. Because Namuli needed a full-time caregiver to be with her, we chose to transfer her to another hospital. You can see her down in this corner. They're holding her up. She's in a little pink, we brought clothes for her. She's in a little pink outfit. We transferred her to another hospital where one of the nurture baby home other babies was. Actually, it's, where the other baby was, so that she could have a caregiver with her 24/7. It was really a crazy day. It was an emotional day. And Faye, I said, Faye, do you do this all the time? And she goes, yeah, about twice a week. And I was astonished. After Namuli finally got out of the hospital, I would go back and forth to Nurture Baby Home because she ended up going to stay at the baby home. And I'd always go up to Namuli and I'd always say, hi, sweetheart. She'd look away and she'd flinch if you touched her. Every time. But I always made sure that I went to see her, and I always made sure to let her know that I was there. She never had any interaction with me until that day, November 2nd. I walked into the baby home and I went searching for Namuli because she was the first one I always went to see. And I saw her and I called her name, hi Namuli, and her face lit up. She was beaming, smiling. It was awesome. It was the day before we were leaving, and I couldn't have asked for a better gift. There she is in the truck shirt. Faye said we should have changed her into something pink, and I said, don't worry about it, we all get it. And that smile right there, I think about it a lot. When I think about it, I smile. And it changed me. Her smile changed me. And it was incredible.
The grumpy face also changed her too, by the way.
Oh, the grumpy one's Adrisa. He's about a year old, and he makes that face all the time. After we had been there for about 2 weeks, Bill and Ann, founders of Eagle's Wings, had to go to England. They packed up, they flew away, and they left Duy and I in charge. They left us in charge of a 6-year-old Elisha. They left us in charge of Nicholas, the self-proclaimed mayor of Masaka, and 4 teenagers.
So some of you are probably asking yourself, who are Bill and Ann? Bill and Ann Peckham. They're the founders of Eagle's Wing Children Village. And to be quite honest with you, most people know them as the legendary couple. I mean, once you meet them, you probably would understand. So let me tell you why they're legendary. 11 years ago, they were visiting a friend in Uganda after they retired. And they just fell in love with Uganda. Their fate was sealed at that time. They had a vision, but a very specific vision. They saw a need, the plight of the orphan. They didn't know how. They didn't know what to do. Just knew that they had to do something, right? So this old couple, or I should say, not so old couple, older couple, younger than you. I was talking to someone else behind you. So this retired couple had, they were retired, they were comfortable, they were in Canada, they were from Manitoba, so they had to leave Canada for a while. And they came back to Canada and literally sold everything. They sold everything and went back to Uganda. So suitcase in hand, they headed back to Uganda. And after 11 years, to the day, I shouldn't say to the day, because that's a lie.
To the year.
We'll say 11 years when we saw them. After 11 years, Eagles Wings Village, the vision that they had, didn't know what, is now the home of 72 orphans. It has a school that teaches over 300 children, and they feeds them in the morning and at lunch. Over 300 children. It also employs 3 social workers. It gives jobs to the local village. It has a medical clinic in collaboration with Hellenic Ministries. And this clinic is not just for the orphans. This clinic is for everybody in the village. It is free. It is given out of the love of Jesus Christ. And this massive project, it's a massive project. It sits on over 72 acres of land. So, just a reminder, especially for the people that are young and that are looking for what is my purpose, it's just a reminder, it's never too late to live your life on purpose.
So let me get back to the 3 weeks when Duy and I were in charge. They did leave us. They asked us, hey, would you guys be comfortable if we, we've got to go to England. Would you be comfortable? And Duy and I were like, yeah. The first day they were gone, we were like, what did we get ourselves into? So let me introduce you to 4 teenagers. Elisha and Elisha, who's Bill and Ann's 6-year-old adopted son. So these are the 4 teenagers, and Nicholas is there. Jovia, Kiza, Florence, and Joseph. They're all high school students, and they're working very hard. They were working very hard while we were there to prepare for their national exams. And these national exams literally determine the future course of their life. Duy and I probably helped them procrastinate a lot more than we should have. Every chance we got, we were like, do you guys want to go for a walk? You want to go do this? You want to do that? And just to give you a little bit of a background about how children arrive at Eagles Wings, I'll tell you a little bit about Florence and Joseph. Florence and Joseph are brother and sister, and they were being raised by their older sister after their parents had died. It's what they call a child-led family. A child-led family is not unusual in Uganda, where an older sister or an older brother takes responsibility for all of the children. And it's not usually one child in a family in Uganda. There's a lot of children. So Eagles Wings heard, when they hear about this children in this situation, they do everything they can to help these children get into a place where they can enable them to eat, because food is not always available. Money is very hard to come by when you're a child. So they get them to a place where they enable them to eat and to finish their schooling and hopefully prepare them for adulthood. The one big thing that struck me while we were in Uganda is that, you know those commercials around Christmas time where you hear, you too can save a life for just $35 a month. Right? You know the ones I'm talking about. I used to just ignore them. I used to be like, if I don't have a coffee today, who's that actually going to help? Well, I'm here to tell you that it actually does save a life. I saw a lot of those lives that it saved. It feeds a child, it educates a child, so that they can learn to feed and take care of themselves. And for just $35, it totally blew my mind. I still lean over to, when we were there, I would lean over to Duy and I'd be like, dude, $35. That's like one meal that we don't need to go out. You know, it was really, really crazy. That's Elisha there in between us. These are the guys. That's Nicholas. Nicholas is the self-proclaimed mayor of Masaka, and he is my fine friend. Nicholas was 28, and he had been living with Bill and Ann for the past 10 years. They had helped him through school. He's the one in the green hat. They had helped him through school. And when he had finished his education, he just stayed on. Nicholas was physically and mentally disabled, and he had about 30% vision, epilepsy, and many other physical conditions. He used to go into the washroom and run the water and then come out. He had an aversion to showering. He used to go into the bathroom and run the water, and he would come out having not showered and smelling exactly as he did when he went in. And it was really fun when he used to come and sit beside me when I was doing my work. Nicholas used to have many episodes of tyranny. He would kind of fly off the handle. He would start grumbling about something, and then he'd take off speaking in Uganda, which is his native language. And I never, ever understood what he was saying. But I would agree and smile and shake my head, and then he'd keep on going. So I used to calm him down with what I like to call tea therapy. And I'd be like, Nico, hey, Nico. Get in his face, and I'd be like, hey, want some tea? And he'd always say yes. And he'd calm down, and he'd settle in for a cup of tea. And sometimes I'd sit and have it with him, or I would just make him one. This year in December, after we got home, we got word that Nicholas had passed away tragically. He was out gathering firewood for his aunt. Sorry. And he was gathering firewood in the swamp, and there's a lot of swamp around, and he had a seizure and he drowned. Yeah, and it was tragic and it hurts. And this jolting reminder is a reminder of just how short life is. And it's short in Uganda, and it's short here. And it makes me think about how it's so important that we live our lives on purpose. It's to go and do the things that you've always wanted to do. It's about sharing the love of Jesus in everything you do, in every chance you get. It's about looking outside of yourself to see what God has for you. You know, it may not be Uganda. It may be the widow across the street, the homeless man you see every day, or your coworker. But whatever it is, and whatever you do, live your life on purpose. Do you want this microphone?
No. I like my hands free.
Sorry.
So most of the time you'll hear Melissa speak, and rarely will I speak out loud in front of you guys. So I get a chance and the privilege to share my time in Uganda. So as Melissa shared, or as I call her Miss, she dreamt big 18 months ago. I mean big. And she chose a very specific thing. It was called living life on purpose. She chose to make her life matter, and by doing so, she got me to begrudgingly follow her. I was not happy, but I did. And that adventure took us to Masaka, Uganda. So we stayed there for 5 weeks. I think Dave started with 3, we ended up 4, we ended up with 5. Good. So as Dave said, we were there for 5 weeks. And in 5 weeks, we experienced what few travelers get to experience. In 5 weeks, we were invited to rejoice in one wedding, wonderful wedding. We also shared the tragedy of 3 deaths in 5 weeks, one of which was a child. We rescued one orphan girl, Namuli, from the hospital, and we also witnessed the birth of a new life. We laughed and cried, mainly laughed. Yeah. She cried. And in 5 weeks, we were privileged to live in life among those who call Masaka their home. So we simply lived a simple life. The wedding. So I'm just going to share with you the wedding, the fantastic wedding. For the first time, Melissa and I were encountered with a throng of children that were swarming. They were all around. And they were saying, Mzungus, Mzungus, which is basically white people. And I was like, I'm not white, I'm Asian, but Mzungus, Mzungus. They were all around. I mean, I would turn left, and I'd see 30 of them smiling, waving, and I'd turn the other side, that was my left, by the way, and this one I turned right. I was like, another one's, hey, 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 and they were sharing and laughing, and some of them, and then you would stare right straight in front of you, and they would say, hey, and then they would laugh, and they would cry, and they would just kind of smile, and you know, you'll have a chance to see this. And there were some crazy ones that would just come, and they would do this. You know, it's like, hey, hey. And others, the ones that were just more courageous, they were really courageous. They would come and sit on us. And it was just, it was a hard experience. It was very hard, because there was a lot of germs. No, it was just very hard, but it was very fulfilling. During that day, I met a little kid by the name of David. David couldn't be more than 1 year old, or even less than 2 years old, for sure. David is the youngest of 6. When we had him, he seemed very cathartic, very sleepy, slept a lot. And he was unaware of his surrounding. Yeah. And each time Melissa held him, he would soil himself and pee on her. And I was hoping that he would never pee on me when I held her. Unfortunately, my luck never came through. So he shared his spoil with me. But you know, it was cute. He was very cute, but it's kind of sad. You know, so you hold him, and it's like, okay, and just move back and forth. At that moment, however, the moment that was just kind of, for me, heart-wrenching. I was feeding David. He ate a meal that I couldn't finish, and I eat a lot. An adult could not finish. So David ate all of it, and within minutes, within minutes, yeah, he was dancing, moving, not smiling, but he was definitely dancing and moving. So that was kind of very interesting. We learned later that night that David did not have anything to eat for the last 24 hours. And we learned that it was a normal thing for him to not eat for 24 hours, and for the rest of the kids around that area. But there were happy times. There were crazy times. Like when we spent our evenings with the people we only had met a few weeks ago, we ate at their place. We went to a local restaurant, and it was fun. It was just a rural community of Masaka. All we can say is it was a fantastic time. We met the McCrees right there. We met the Peckhams, the founders of of Eagles Wing, the Mikalskis, wonderful couple, Rachel and Paul. They all shared their evening with us, Melissa and I, which they considered complete strangers just a couple of weeks ago. But they gave everything to us. They gave their time to us. As I remember one time, I sat during one of those evenings, laughing, and it was a special day for me. And I just remember one thing, it's just I miss my family. I've been away for so long, and I miss my family. Yet, I think I was very happy at that moment. I was very happy. Someone recently asked me, how would I describe Uganda? I thought hard before I came up with an answer, just because I wanted to give it justice, right? You just don't want to give an experience like that and just say anything and everything that comes through your head. So I thought through it. And all I can say, Uganda, it's the collision of two worlds. The first world is poverty. And the second world is happiness. Everywhere you step, garbage is staring right back at you. Everywhere you turn, your nostrils are filled with the strange and not so wonderful smells. And it wasn't just Nicholas, but it was pretty. Everywhere you look, there's just poverty. I mean, and yet there's just poverty everywhere. And yet, when you took the time to talk to someone, and not just talk at someone, you found something that's inexplicable. You know what you found? Happiness. Mm-hmm. One of the few things they warn us before we step foot on a mission trip is not to become overly righteous, right? You just don't want to. It's easy to come back here and say, oh my goodness, they're poor and we have too much, and bemoan the inequities of this world, right? We think, oh my goodness, how come the world is not equal? But who really wants to be that person, right? To be honest, like, don't you want to smack that guy who always talk about, I do. Truth be told,
You're peeling Matokian.
I'm not sure if I will miss Masaka. I really not. I don't know. I know I will remember fondly of the time I spent with people and their connection with them. I know I will be forever grateful to have taken a shower under the stars in the African savannah. I know there's a particular view of Masaka out of Plot 99. I just remember the breeze. I just remember the sound. I remember the view. And just, it was a wonderful view. It's just a wonderful view. I also remember my many Boda Boda drives. If you ever have a chance, you can ask me later what a Boda Boda drive. And it was just awesome. So, you know, when I think about it, I may miss Masaka just a little bit. Just a little bit. They say that such a trip changes people. They say that seeing and experiencing the world. Bill and Ann Peckham, legendary people, by the way. They say that such a trip changes people. They say that seeing and experiencing the world forever changes a man or a woman. But what has a change in me? What did I learn? Or did I even learn anything? That I'm not sure. But I did encounter one thing when I was there. Something that is very intangible. Something that is very hard to describe. Not hard to describe, but hard to hold. And what I encountered was called generosity. I mean, I met generosity here. I mean, all of you guys were generous to help us. You were generous in helping this team going to Philippines. I met generosity before. But during that trip was very, very special. And generosity, I mean, I don't mean generosity by just giving. I mean, giving is just easy. It's a random act. You know, we give, sometimes we give it for the right reason, right? Sometimes we give it for the wrong reason. Some people just make us want to do something we don't want to do, and we give. Woohoo! So Melissa and I chose to live our life on purpose for the year of 2015. And the purpose of that year...
Do you like that picture, please?
That is me in charge of Masaka. Melissa and I chose to live a life on purpose for the year of 2015. And the purpose of that year was to go and serve the people of Africa, specifically Masaka and Eagle's Wing. We came back with lighter traveling luggage than when we left, but we definitely came back with fuller hearts. I'm not sure how 2016 is shaping up to be, but I do know that a generous life should be part of our life on purpose. So this is what I came to understand about living life on purpose after almost 2 years working on it with Melissa. To better yourself, you must give of yourself. To find yourself, you must first lose yourself. Maybe, just maybe, the best thing we can do for ourselves has little to do of ourselves, with ourselves. Because purpose is always found just on the other side of what's in it for me. Purpose is just over the line of your comfort zone. So because we're sitting in a church, we kind of have to mix it with the Bible. Huh? Matthew 16, 25, 24, 25. Jesus said, oh yes, Jesus, yes, that guy. Jesus said, what did he say? Whoever wants to be my disciple, there's a killer right there. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will find it. So, let's take a peek of what happened when we were in Uganda. Come on. Master.
Oh,
Go to view.
click on the
Go
black.
to.
Yeah, she's got to. There you go. Now go.
Yes, there you go. Then press something. Where'd it go?
There's the music.
Gonna put some music on it. Press stop. Press pause. Oh my goodness. Oh, so let's keep on going.
It's fine. Oh, is here paragraph?
Zambi, beto kelen tantu sambu masumu, beto yitu kainki na yonso kele guiza, beto pakisa yombote baimba, baimba, suka takiza, banayan zambi, takwenda masulo, beto yimbila, yilumbu beto nandu, beto pakisa yombote baimba. Bimba mingi kelebe kumoyoyo ya beto, kansi beto kwikilata tanzambeto, bonsondinga ya yandi beto atalo punto, beto pakisa yombote baimba. Baimba, suka takiza, banayan zambi, takwenda suyo, beto yimbila, yilumbu beto nandu, beto pakisa yombote baimba. Baimba, suka takiza, banayan zambi, takwenda suyo, beto yimbila, yilumbu beto nandu, beto pakisa yombote baimba. Beto pakisa yombote baimba. Beto pakisa yombote baimba. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my life I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, oh my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when the fates shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back, there's a scroll, the drums shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul.
We have some time for questions. Okay. If you guys have any questions for us or would like us to answer some of that, we would be really happy to.
She would be, yes.
So we will begrudgingly agree.
Yes, Scott.
I noticed that even the females have shaved heads. Is there a reason, I guess, for bugs or for...
It's part of the school uniform, so children who are going to school, all their hair must be really short. Yeah, yeah. And it's probably a bug issue.
Very much so.
next trip?
Back to Uganda? I've been threatening Christmas, but
We made good friends there, and they received a lot of money right now to build an administration building. That was Eagle's Wing. Faye is Melissa's good friend now, and they keep contact. And obviously, Melissa has a soft spot for Namuli. So there's a couple of other kids there. There's Adrisa, there's Jean-Marc, there's Dowdy, there's Angel. So there's a few of them.
We'll be going back to see them.
Yes.
No,
You know what? It was a wonderful. Actually, it was pretty good. What we call the expat, meaning the people that are not from Uganda, lived a fairly good life. I am not going to lie about that. However, you still had to deal with the locals, which I call the cockroaches, the locals. And I'm not.
You don't call them cockroaches, they were
Yes.
cockroaches.
I was going to say, it's not the people. I'm talking about the actual cockroaches. They're all over the place. So the accommodation itself, if you can live with electricity about 60% of the time, you're good.
Yeah.
You can live with a little bit of ants in your food, you're fantastic.
And the
If you
salt
can live
shaker?
with cockroaches taking a shower with you, great. You can snore with the lizard, you're fantastic.
All of which lived with us.
So yes.
Lots of geckos, yeah.
Yes.
Everywhere. And they're fast. And they're pink there. They were pink.
How did they get financial aid?
Well, a lot of the financial aid for Eagles Wings Children's Village is all donations. So they are supported mainly through donations. You can sponsor a child. It's $35 a month. You too. Eagles Wings Children's Village, absolutely. So it's actually a Canadian charity, and you can check. There's I can bring you the website. I can give it to Pastor Dave, and maybe we can post it.
Manitoba, right?
They're out of Manitoba, yes. What's it called? It's not Winnipeg. It's a little tiny town.
Yeah.
Somewhere
Winnipeg
around
isn't a
there.
tiny town anyway, so who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah. So, pardon?
Pardon?
Not Gimli.
Not Gimli.
No.
The Vikings? No. Yes.
The daily routine changed every single day. The only thing that was set up and was 100% is that we had devotions at 8 in the morning. So with the team, Jonathan is, he's 28.
28, yeah.
And he is taking over being the director of Eagles Wings. And you saw us with Jonathan, I should have named them. He's there, so he would come every morning to the office. We stayed in the office area, and he would come and we would have devotions with Judge Bill and Judge Ann, which means Grandma and Grandpa. We would do that, and then we would have breakfast, or if we had time, we would have breakfast before. And then the day could be anything from Melissa's headed to Nurture Baby Home, Duy's headed out to Eagles Wings to the village to work on the irrigation system. Duy spent many days planting corn, maize, and putting teaspoons of stuff in holes. Was it urea or something?
I don't know.
He was
I
doing.
just
He
put my
was
fingers
farming.
and stuff. They told me to put my fingers in. I was like, all right, let's do it.
So, and then on certain days, I would go out with Dr. McCrease and I would work in the medical clinic, and I'd get to pretend I was a nurse. And I didn't know anything, but it was awesome. So, yes. The water there? The water is... Yes, there is water. There's a large lake in Uganda called Lake Victoria. It's the largest lake on the continent of Africa, and it is fresh water. However, the people do not have drinking water. There is not drinking water. Everything has to be filtered. Even in the homes of the people, like the missionaries and stuff, their water still has to be filtered. We drank bottles of water all the time. That was what we kind of did. They don't have water, and actually there was a photo at the beginning of the video with a bunch of children around a well, and that well is actually a well that belongs to Eagles Wings Children's Village, but Judge Bill's heart is the size of Africa, and it's a good thing, and he invites all of the village children that don't even live on the property, who live around in the community in Lubumba, to come and get their water at the Eagles Wings well. Yeah.
Scotty.
Was there any problems or worries with like gangs or?
I know Kung Fu. No.
He runs faster than I do.
That's right. I run faster than she does, so I'm fine. You know what? I would not suggest you walk by yourself at night, where we were. However, people were very friendly at daytime.
We didn't go out
We
after
never
dark
had
very
any
often.
trouble ever.
You're away from maybe that.
No, actually, Masaka is Masaka. It's just a town. It's a small little town where street kids. I had the opportunity to go to a Wednesday night where this lady gathers all the homeless children, homeless teenagers, young adults, and spend an evening with them. And there's really nothing. I mean, you walk, they recognize you pretty much everywhere you go, right? I all say, hey, you, number 1, number 2, number 3, and that's about it. But no, there was never fear. But I would not suggest to walk at night.
Yes.
What about, did you get a chance to try local food? What was it? How was it? The shuka, I don't know if
What they eat is called posho. Posho is a corn flour. It's not like cornmeal. It's a little bit finer than cornmeal, so it looks like you're eating a mashed potato, and then you actually try to cut it with your fork, and it's very like rock hard. They have a high carbohydrate diet, and Judge Bill and Judge Ann eat local food. So we had rice and beans, posho and beans, matoke and G-nut sauce. Matoke is a green banana that is mashed up like a mashed potato, and I actually really liked it, and I loved the beans. He hated them, but he ate them. So there was not much meat. We did have the opportunity, Zui had a birthday, and they took us to celebrate Zui's birthday. All of the missionaries that were there, we were probably a group of 16, 17 maybe. All of the missionaries took us to celebrate Zui's 41st birthday to a beautiful barbecue meal where it was mountains of meat, and he was in heaven.
Yes.
I picked around.
In heaven.
What kind of meat?
It was meat. It was not bean nor posho. I think we had chicken, a little bit of alligator here and there. No, I really don't know. I think pork, definitely pork, and lamb.
I saw cattle in a picture.
Yeah. The cattle roam free, and they do eat beef, but it's very, very expensive. So they limit how much meat that they eat. And the chickens all roam free. And actually, we ate
the women
eggs.
all roam free too.
And the men and the children all roam free. So we actually had a herd of cattle in the area that we lived. There was a herd of cows that we often had to walk through to get to the place we were staying. And they kind of eat everything they find. I noticed we were walking by, and a cow she's chewing her cud, but she's also got like strings hanging down out of her mouth, and they had just passed through the garbage dump, and they were all kind of full of whatever the garbage. Yeah, they get close to it, and they just run up to the garbage dump and take a mouthful and keep walking, and the chickens do the same thing. So so the meat may be flavored differently.
I saw a picture of a zebra. Do they eat any of the wild animals of that?
The zebra that you saw in the picture was part of a conservation area. So as far as I'm not sure if they do
eat the zebra, no.
zebras. I would like to try it if I was honest with you.
You
but I'm
ate
not
zebra?
Sure.
How could you eat a zebra? Yeah, one bite at a time, exactly. So maybe they do. Maybe we didn't have that opportunity and we didn't see people. So
I just tapped Melissa because it's 5:22. I'm kind of sitting up here kind of a bit too long for myself.
yeah, people feel free to come and ask us questions. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, Carol, first, last. Cockroaches, geckos, those are the only thing I try to kill.
We did
That's
have a
about it.
cockroach massacre of 2015. There were 7 of them.
It was my own battle of the bulge.